What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the fantasy scene, otherwise known as Ross Loves Muncy, your daily fantasy sports talk show. Myself, Ross, how's everything? Another day, another division, another position.
How's everybody doing out there?
Well, how's your day going so far, Ross? Doing all right today?
Always nice.
So we are going to get into a position that historically has been one of the most important in terms of power. Again, it's one of the big three. Usually, when you're looking at names that are usually very loaded, based on our conversation prior to, Ross, I think, has every minus 4 players, has every other third baseman in the second tier. But we'll get into that. Ross, I mean, last year, well, this position, this for me, this position saw a big move. Okay, one in particular player is going to be Nolan Aronado. This is a guy that normally is a first-round pick. He gets the luxury of playing in Colorado. Gets traded to St. Louis, and I think that takes an astronomical hit to his value. Astronomical. I had him. I mean, I'm going to post my list in a little bit. I had him too. He's just on the cusp of being top 5 right now. Just on the cusp.
If he's on the cusp of being top 5, how does he take a drastic decrease in value?
But here's my thing. I think, listen, I again, this is where your tier system is better than my 1 through 10 value. I still think, he's not
a top tier guy anymore.
He's not a top tier guy. I think he's honestly, if I was doing a tier, he'd be in my second tier.
Okay. I mean, it's okay. I mean, for you to put that, it's your opinion. Me personally, I think Arenado and Jose Ramirez and Machado are right there. They can all be just as good as each other.
That's the class of the position.
Right. They're interchangeable. Really, my second tier, Joe, is a lot of guys. Yeah. There's maybe 14 guys. I mean, you don't put guys on your list that qualify other positions, but there's quite a few guys that qualify other positions.
Oh, let me guess. Shocking development, ladies and gentlemen. We have a Max Muncy alert.
But he's not.
I'm gonna make like a video for this.
LeMahieu, Vlad Guerrero, Sano, Moustakas. Those are all guys that qualify at third base, and they can be second tier. They are second tier guys because they're just as good as anybody else in that tier. For instance, Devers, Bregman, Suarez, Donaldson, Bryant, Rendon, Chapman, Hunter Dozier. Those are Kyle Seager, solid. These are all guys that can hit you 25 home runs.
I get that.
So to put them in who's number 3 and who's number 10, I mean, really, it's who you like.
Absolutely. But that's isn't Ross. Isn't that what fantasy? It's all about. Right. That's everything. But my thing is this. This is something that I want to bring up. Okay, I'm going to go back to the Arenado thing. And this is the stat for me that is why I dropped him significantly. If you look at his home for his career, okay, we're not going off of 1, 2. I'm talking career.
Mm-hmm.
Home away splits. It's almost a dead even. He played 543 games at home, 536 games on the road. Okay, 2,300 at bats at home, 2,250 on the road. So it's almost to the number. Okay, but let me tell you the number that the 2 numbers that strike me tremendously. First is going to be home runs. Excuse me, RBIs. RBIs. He goes from 461 at home to 299 on the road. But the biggest number of them all is batting average. He goes from hitting 322 at home to 263 on the road. Now, Ross, he goes into a St. Louis. He goes into a St. Louis
park. That's not
Okay,
great
and
for
he's
him.
on the road every day. He does not get Colorado for 82 games.
But the thing is this. Yes, Arenado, every
Bi-
single player playing in Colorado is better in Colorado. We know that. Now, since it's all a brain game, he already knows he's a stud. So when he bats with a lot of confidence. So now he knows he can hit. He's hitting in, for me, I think the best lineup in that division.
I mean,
Because I
that's
think St. Louis has the best team in the division. You think Cincinnati, whatever the case may be.
no. I think
But
I think I think I
he's
think
still he's
Milwaukee has
playing.
the best lineup.
I don't think so, because if you look at Milwaukee later on, you'll see that they don't. But Dijong is a good sleeper. I mean, Goldschmidt, Molina's solid. We'll go through the St. Louis,
Yeah,
but
I mean,
they have a solid lineup. Forget about their pitching. Their pitching is the best in the division. But I still think that Arenado in that he may not be Arenado of Colorado, who's a top 3 pick in the entire league, but for a third baseman, I still think that he's a top tier guy. That's my opinion.
yeah, I mean, like, Crazy Uso. Otherwise, well, I found out, Ross, that you are not Crazy Uso. Okay, we got confirmation. We found out that Crazy Uso actually lives in California. Okay,
Nice.
so we got someone from the West Coast watching. Crazy Uso, thank you for joining us. One of our biggest supporters. Yeah, I mean, Bleacher Report did an article for third base, and Arenado wasn't top 3. I'm not surprised.
Right.
I'm not the only person looking at those numbers and seeing it. Billy, listen, bottom line, I think you're smoking crack. I cannot tell. You can't tell me that he is going to be an MVP candidate in 2021 moving out of Colorado. That's going to be huge. It's that, but I will give
Joey, that's a
100%.
story. But remember
But,
LeMahieu's numbers.
well,
LeMahieu had the same numbers outside.
You're back to being Crazy Uso, I see, right? Because people didn't think DJ was going to do anything when he left for the Yankees.
Right. So there we go. So
what's up, Johnny boy? How's everything? Yeah, no, I get it. I feel that the Colorado factor is
the Colorado factor is nice and makes those numbers inflated, but that doesn't mean they leave Colorado and they forget to hit.
No, I'm not saying he's going to forget to hit, but we're the fantasy show. You have to temper expectations in terms of what you're getting from him. You're not getting 315, 3 to 325 with 40 home runs, 100 plus RBI. You're not getting that.
No, I don't think he's going
to have to temper it.
He's going to be a top 3 pick like he was always.
For me, he's fallen to second, third round.
Right, but if the second round comes along, your first tier guys are still there. So your second round comes along, you're not taking Arenado in the second round. You got to be crazy.
Yeah, I don't know. I put a lot of merit into the whole Colorado.
Right. Listen, even if he falls to the bottom of the first tier guys, he still has to be an early third round pick. No matter how you look at it, he's not a second tier guy. I just don't see him. He's not a second tier guy.
Listen, again, I hope I'm wrong, but I mean, for me, I can't see him.
You're not.
He's not on my thing.
But you're hoping that you're right because you're not going to have him. You want him to suck.
Yeah, I want him to be terrible. I want him to be terrible. Terrible. That's what I want him to be, is terrible. All right. So Ross, you mentioned your top 3. I'm going to go into my top 3. We're a little bit. We're actually the same. And then before you get into your 14 players, I'll just name my other 7 really quickly. So as you can tell, I made this list about a month ago. So Arenado was still in Colorado. So for me right now, Arenado would probably be around 5th, sliding everyone up. I got Rendon. Rendon moves into the top 3. Again, Ross is a huge, not Ross. Ray is a huge fan of Arenado. He is. That's his boy. But Bregman, I'm going against what I said last show about Houston. I think Bregman, out of all of them, is someone who I think can bounce back. Eugenio Suarez, he's a beast. Just comes down to as our faithful companion Ray says what color hair he's going to have. Devers, Chapman, Bryant, and then obviously Urshela rounding out the top 10. But again, like you said, this list is super interchangeable because there are so many guys on the third base side. See, why can't you be more like this guy, Ross? I like your list. Why can't you be more like this guy? This guy knows it. This guy gets it.
That's your little brother. Tell him to
not my brother. That's not my brother. That was you about 2 weeks ago. I think that's a burner account. So who are the 47 guys in your second tier, Ross?
Listen, there's a lot of guys that qualify. Now, my list is like yours. The guys that are there, like I think Devers and Bregman, I mean, they're very solid. Bregman I like a lot because he qualifies as shortstop. LeMahieu and Muncy, they're also middles. So you're going to get those guys that qualify at second base, and they also play at third. I like interchangeability. Moustakas playing second base and also third. He's very valuable. Sano qualifies. This all goes by your league qualifications. A lot of leagues are going from the 2019 numbers. So this is how we're working.
Well, just to piggyback off of that real quick, and I'll let you get right back to it. Just so you know, we have our draft. Okay, the Fired Up Sports draft coming up in just 12 days. March 22nd, live online. We are going to be using 2019 eligibility. So with the first pick that I'm going to give myself, I'm taking Max Muncy. Okay, and I'm going to trade him to you for the rest of your pick. Okay,
you can do maybe the first pick.
I'm taking Max Muncy.
Muncie's not. He's definitely not mine.
Muncy with the first pick. But go ahead, Russ. Go back to your list. Go ahead. We're losing you, Ross.
He's a steal from me and a mistake.
Yeah, we're losing you.
But he's not there. But there's a lot of guys. I mean, guys that I named earlier. Eugenio Suarez, a guy who can hit 270, 280. Donaldson. You can get Chris Bryant. These guys, Vlad Guerrero, these are all guys on the list. And a couple of other guys like Urshela, Kyle Seager, all solid guys. And the two sleeper picks that you can get later on are also guys that can get you 25 home runs, like Moncada, Eduardo Escobar. These are all guys that can get you a lot of home runs. So me personally, I'm not going to draft a third baseman in the first 2 rounds, only because I'd rather get another position and take. There's so many of them. That's why I like categories, tiers, because it just that I'm not drafting. I mean, Jose Ramirez or Machado fall in the second round. I may take them, but I doubt they will be there. Do you understand? Right. So that's where the tiers come in instead of the rankings.
Ross, your burner account made actually a really funny thing. For a second, we were losing you. He said Ross got the COVID connection, Joe got the vaccine connection. But he has a very good question or a very good statement. If Matt Chapman can get his average to at least 270 with the power he's brought the last few seasons, do you think he moves into the top 5 as a third baseman? I'll pass it along to you, and then I'll give my answer.
What I'm saying is 100%. I think in this, I don't think he can be. I don't think he's. Listen, anyone could have a great season and go into the top tier. Don't get me wrong. Anyone. Donaldson has hit 40 home runs. Suarez has hit 38 home run, high 30s home run, maybe 34 home runs, 49 home runs. So these guys have hit home runs. They can fall into the top tier, yes, but you have to go with what you think is going to be the probability here. Now, can Chapman be tops in the second tier? Of course, any one of them can. That's why I say you can draft any one of these with the same consistency. Just go with the guy you like. So in his case, I would take Chapman in the 4th round, 5th round, 6th round, depending on where he is. I just don't want to spend a 3rd or 4th round pick on Chapman just because I like him.
No, yeah, I mean for him, for 270. Listen, let's 270 is roughly about a 20-point jump in average. That's a big jump. Like that's a pretty big jump. I think I'll be honest with you. I mean Chapman, like I said, I have him top 10. For Chapman, if he can even just get it up to 260, I think he can move into that. Maybe not top 5, but top 6, top 7. It's going to be tough to if you really think about it. It's going to be really tough to crack the top 5. You have 5 studs at the top, with Machado, with Ramirez, Rendon, I'm blanking out, Bregman and Arenado. With those 5, I mean, you have to have because those guys, like I said, I'm questionable on Arenado, but if you go just based on history, those guys, man, they produce year in and year out. Okay. Some didn't produce last year. And like, Ross said, he's not putting a lot of, weight on that. But for someone who doesn't or does, I mean, those 5 guys are studs. They are completely studs, and they're always, always, always going to perform. So in order for you to jump into that top 5, you're really going to have to elevate your game to another level. That's just my thought. I mean, does he have that potential? Yes. And I think where he's gonna benefit from, I think, is no Chris Davis. He's gonna slide up in the lineup a little bit. They lose Semien, so I mean protection is gonna be. It's just a matter of. I'll be honest with you. His success relies on Olsen for me. If Olsen can perform, I think Chapman really moves up.
Listen, there's going to be a lot of players that didn't perform last year that are going to perform this year. Like I said with the Houston thing, the entire team didn't do well because losing is contagious and batting is contagious. So now, give me an example.
Cheating.
Okay, but Chicago Cubs didn't cheat. Rizzo hit 222, Baez hit 203, Bryant hit 206. Those guys are 270, 280, 290 hitters their entire career, year after year after year, hitting 25, 30 home runs. Did they cheat? No, but one player slumped, then the other, now the entire team slumps. So that's what I'm talking about, where it's all in the mind. So when one player is doing bad, it does affect other players. And that's why I think that a guy like Bryant is going to have a resurgent year. Baez and Rizzo, I think all 3 of them are going to revert back to where they usually are. And that's why I think Houston's players will also revert, because once they start hitting, they're going to remember, we don't really suck. We all know how to hit.
No, if they're watching the show, you really suck. Just remember you suck. If you're watching the show, if Jose Altuve is watching the show by some miracle of Jesus, you suck. Crazy Uso actually has a great question, and I'm going to take the lead on this one, Ross. What do you think of a healthy Andujar can do? What do you think that a healthy Andujar can do this coming season? Nothing. And I'm going to tell you why. He might have the worst luck in the world, okay? Andujar was being prepped to be the starting third baseman for the New York Yankees. He came up. He was an absolute doubles machine. He should have been Rookie of the Year. He got robbed by Shohei Ohtani, okay? Got hurt, and Gio Urshela appeared. I don't think in Brian Cashman's wildest dreams did he think that Gio Urshela was going to formulate into the player that he formulated into, okay? And there's no place for him. Clint Frazier has been roadblocked by Brett Gardner for years, okay? And I still think that he's going to be roadblocked this year, even though they named him the starting left fielder. I think the best thing that can happen to Andujar is to be traded. He needs to go somewhere else to be solid, because I think the kid can really play, but he has no place on this team, and it's sad. But unfortunately, right now, his defense can't shine Urshela's shoes, and Urshela's producing with the bat. So I'm going to take Urshela all day long.
The thing is this, Joe, with Andujar, he's not getting traded because he's a perfect bench player. If he was a regular player getting regular at-bats, he'd be a second-tier player. Now, they're not trading him. Why? Because the Yankees always have a lot of injuries. He's going to end up playing. That's a guy that if you have a roto league, you can pick up later on. If you have a bench, that's a guy you pick up later on. Because when one of the Yankees gets injured, whether it be Stanton, Judge, Voit, someone's getting injured. There's gonna be a place for him to hit. Now,
Well, why you gotta put the Maliki on them? Why did you have to put the horns on them?
I love them, but
I mean, you just put the horns on them.
I would take Andujar with a late pick, 100%, and I plan to.
I mean, he's listening. All right, so everybody in our league, Muncy, Andujar, just keep track. Don't worry about it. Good trade bait if you want someone from Ross. Just throwing that out there. He likes to trade.
I take Muncy in the 4th, 5th round.
Yeah. You take Muncy in the first 4 to 5 rounds. Yes, I'm going to draft Muncy, the second baseman. In the second round, I'll take Muncy, the third baseman. So yeah, I get it. I understand. Okay. Yeah, I mean, for me, third base, like we discussed, it's super, it's a super deep position. There's some guys, towards the tail end that might be someone that I'm looking at. I'll be honest with you, someone that I'm looking at he had a decent season last year. Again, he hasn't had a full season to say where we know what he's going to have. But someone I'm excited to watch, well, there's 2 of them in particular. It's going to be Alec Baum from Philly, okay? The kid came up last year, looked pretty solid. And honestly, in terms of youth, okay, there's not many things you can say that you are looking forward to with watching the Pittsburgh Pirates. But Cabrian Hayes, he's this super touted rookie. Mm-hmm. Again, I know we're not going to draft him in the higher rounds, but the kid's got a lot of hype around him. So maybe something that
these are all guys, Joey, like they go in the late rounds, and you hope you get lucky with them. There's no saying what these guys are going to do. That's why it all goes on. You have to have your list of late sleepers. You have to have your 15, 20, 25 guys that you say towards the end of the draft, when all the good guys are gone and I got to take a shot on someone, these are the guys I want to take a shot on because I think that these guys could excel. I'm not taking a shot on my sleepers when good guys that I have on my list are still available.
No, absolutely. Listen, again, I'm not saying that you're gonna take these guys. Do I think that they have the potential? Yes. Cabrian Hayes, you're not expecting a lot because obviously look at that Pittsburgh lineup. It's awful. We're going to get into it a little bit later when we do the NL Central. But, Alec Baum is not in a bad lineup in Philadelphia. Again, had a pretty decent season, decent pop, so I'm having, decent expectations for him. Crazy
remember, season. Last year was not a season. Last year was
100% understood. But, like I said, I have to, for him, you can't go off of anything else. He only came up last year. So he's one of, there's certain players that you can only really base it off of what he did last year.
I like him, though. He's one of my late sleepers.
Yeah. Speaking.
Go ahead.
Yeah, speaking of another one that we're looking at right now, your Ross's burner account just asked. Oh, wrong one. Austin Riley. We went over last show about the 2 shows ago. Sorry, about the NL East, and we both picked the Braves to win it and probably be the best team in that division. Obviously, Austin Riley is another guy that I think is in an awesome position. I know that you had suggested possibly moving him or Swanson up into the 2 hole. I think he's perfect where he is down in that 7-8 hole. 6, 7, 8, somewhere in that run. He's projected right now. Again, not an average guy, but I'll be honest with you. If you really look at it, Ross, I'm telling you, Adam Dunn is kicking himself in the ass because he would have been a $300 million player nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
There's maybe 30 guys that actually hit for average in the league nowadays. I mean, everyone else is between that 260 and 290 roll.
If you're at 290, you're really good.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Honestly, someone like LeMahieu and those guys they're like more of a the exception, not the rule. Yeah, they're the anomalies. They're the exception. They're not the rule. Riley right now projected to hit about 265, 28 home runs, 70 RBIs, 75 runs scored, which I think would be a solid. Listen, that's solid production. But again, as far as for me, he's going to be like in a full 29, 25 round draft. He's going to be like that 15th, 16th, 17th round player.
Exactly. I don't have him, and I don't have him as a second tier guy because for me, a second tier guy has to be good enough to be just below the first tier. Can Austin Riley be right below Machado?
No,
can he?
Not yet. He could grow to that.
Arenado, can he be right below Jose Ramirez? But the other guys, I mean, there's guys that can be, that have done it. So I can't. I like Riley as a late round sleeper. I think he has potential to be good as a third tier guy. I don't see him as my second tier guy. Guys he's in the with Seager, who's solid, with Moustakas, with Moncado, with Escobar, those type of guys. Even Brian Anderson, on Miami, he's not a bad little hitter himself. So
no, I said it, Brian. That was one of my sleepers when we went over the NL East. I think Brian Anderson is going to be I think he could be a very solid player. I really do. Again, this list, like last show we went over the shortstops, and the top two tiers are pretty cut and dry. They're pretty, there was no real fluctuation. With third baseman, with the exception of the top 3, maybe 4, you could see them all kind of move up and down the scale.
Yeah.
And as we go through the season, guys, just so obviously we're doing the draft prep now. Crazy Uso, enjoy dinner, brother. Thank you. We'll see you Monday. Actually, guys, we are switching up the schedule a little bit. We're going to Mondays and Wednesdays at 6:00. We do have something exciting planned for you for Fridays with the Fired Up Sports Network. Hopefully to start in a few weeks. We're really excited about the new product, and we'll start promoting it soon. But you could see all of them fluctuate. And just so you guys know, like I was saying, throughout the season, we're doing the draft prep right now. And through the season, we're gonna continue to give you guys advice. Monitor players, track players, and stuff like that. But Ross, I'm going to give you the obviously, guys, I am at work really quickly. I just have to run outside one second. Ross, I'm going to give you the floor. So talk to the people about your third tier if you have anyone, or but I will be right. Give me 1 minute. I'll be right back. All right, guys.
Hey, guys. So what I would do for third base is hold it on the back burner. You have your list of guys. There's going to be so many third basemen available later on that I wouldn't waste a pick unless you really want to go for your stud. If you really think Arenado is going to be MVP, then you have to draft him in the first round. If you really think Machado, Jose Ramirez, they're going to be a top 10 player, then you have to draft those guys. Me personally, I just like my other choices. I would rather pick a guy with multi-position later on. I would rather pick, obviously, a Muncy, a LeMahieu. I would rather take a guy like Sano or Vlad, even though he's not going to be a stud like the top 3.
I'm back, guys. I'm back. Sorry, I didn't mean to leave you. I didn't mean to leave.
It's okay. What I was saying wasn't important.
All
Joe,
right.
go ahead, you go.
No, good.
You, you're
We're
at
so
work.
right. Yeah, no worries. So we're gonna move on to excuse me. We're gonna move on to the NL Central. This is a God. It's a bad division. It really is. I don't know what else to say about it. I mean, it seems to be a 3-team race. If you look at Vegas,
I don't think it's a 3-team race, Joe. I think, for me personally, I think it's a 1-team race for St. Louis and a 3-team race after that for second place.
yeah. See, I completely disagree. I don't think the addition of Nolan Aronado is that big of a game changer for the St. Louis Cardinals. And as I expressed to you before, I just don't feel as though he's going to bring what people are expecting him to bring. That's just me.
The thing is this,
For
without Arenado, they have the most solid lineup. And 100%, they have the best pitching staff.
Again, I disagree. I disagree with you on both sides. I really do. I disagree with you on both sides. You can't tell me that, having Chris Carpenter is still in your lineup. That's just.
But Chris Carpenter is the last guy on the list. You have Goldschmidt, Arenado, DeJong.
Not Chris Carpenter. You hear me, Chris Carpenter?
It's Matt Carpenter.
No. I'm talking about Chris Carpenter was a pitcher for the Cardinals. I was talking about Wainwright. Listen, you got Flaherty.
He's a free agent. You got Flatterly. You got Carlos Martinez. You got Kim. You got McCollus. You got guys that are. I mean, those.
Well, listen, Mikolas is not back yet, so we don't know. He is still injured, so we don't know what's going on with him.
He should be back this season. When he does, he's extremely solid. Kim is he's a mini stud. Carlos Martinez and Flatterly are definite studs, and they're minor league pitchers. Always, they have the best system. St. Louis always brings up great pitchers. So there's no way that you can say that St. Louis doesn't have the best pitching staff. And just a little note: if you have keepers in your league, in Roto, or obviously in a Roto league you don't have a bench, but you can put injured players on the bench. Take Dakota Hudson. He's a great sleeper for next year, not for this year. I don't even know if he's coming back, and if he does, it won't be till the end of September. He's not going to give you anything of value, but he's a great sleeper for next year. Joe.
Fair enough. All right. So let's start up with this. Let's start off with our teams that we think we're going to go with. We'll start with your St. Louis Cardinals. So you gave your sleeper pick, right? You got Dakota, which a great pick. Very solid player. Unfortunate injury, going to keep him out. For me, a lot. This team, I'll be honest with you. You want to know what's going to make or break this team this year? Is that outfield. Okay? That outfield right now is a big, big question mark. It really is. Tyler O'Neill, Harrison Bader, they traded, and if I'm not mistaken, didn't they trade for, it's really,
the lineup is solid, Joe. The lineup is
solid. It's just, I'm drawing a blank right now.
The thing is this, Joe, when you're looking at lineups, you have, I'm not saying it's the best lineup in baseball. I'm saying it's the best lineup in that division. That's all I'm saying.
That's crazy.
You tell me
The Milwaukee Brewers. The Milwaukee Brewers.
Okay,
Milwaukee Brewers.
Tell me who are you afraid? Who are you afraid to face?
Christian Yelich. Yelich. I'm afraid to face. They have Lorenzo Cain. They add Colton.
Lorenzo Cain. You're afraid to face.
I'm not saying that you're afraid. What I'm saying is they have a solid lineup.
They have guys that are just good players, not great. They're just solid. Wong, Navarez, Urias, Arcia, Avi Garcia, Kane. That's a lineup That's a great lineup. Those are just average players. The only guy that I think that could jump maybe to your second tier is Hiora. I like him.
Yeah.
Other than Hiora and Yelich,
he takes a little bit of, but with Hiora, for fantasy purposes, he takes a little bit of a hit now because he moves from second base to first base. So he goes from a pretty shallow position to a super deep position.
But he qualifies.
He qualifies here.
Using the qualifications, he qualifies. But I don't see that lineup. I see Chicago's lineup as a better lineup than Milwaukee. I don't see Milwaukee's lineup as a lineup you're afraid of. They don't have any power in that lineup besides Yelich.
No, it's Ross. I mean, that's crazy to say that they don't have power. I mean, that they do.
Where? Who can hit 30 home runs in that lineup? Tell me.
Garcia can hit. Avisel Garcia can hit it. Hiora can hit it. Yelich can hit it.
What are you talking about? Are you talking about fantasy or are you talking about cartoons?
No. Come on, Ross. It's
not a lineup. Listen, the guys on Chicago have done it. I mean, Bryant, Baez, Rizzo have done it. Contreras is one of the top catchers. I mean, they have solid guys after that with Boat, Happ, Hayward, and Peterson. So how can you say Milwaukee's lineup is better than St. Louis, who has Goldschmidt, Arenado, and Dijon? Everyone has guys that can possibly do better. Everyone has those guys. Who has studs? Let's just go with that.
Yeah, see, that's where we're disagreeing here. That's where the disagreement is going to come into. You're still putting Goldschmidt and Arenado in the stud level, and for me, they're not. They're not studs. They are no longer studs. They're good players. They're quality players. But they are not guys that I'm going. Studs for me, Ross, are my first three picks, and I'm not taking either of them in my first 3 rounds.
So you're saying to me, Arenado is in the 3rd round. You're not taking. You're saying Goldschmidt is in the 3rd round. You're not taking.
Correct, and you will watch that happen live on the air. I will absolutely not take them because, again, I think too many people are putting too much credence into, Goldschmidt is going to get protected by Arenado or vice versa, blah, 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 blah. The guy is a 260 hitter on the road. They've already spoken about, so now he leaves Colorado where the altitude is high and he's hitting home runs. They've already spoken that the balls were juiced and they're not going to juice the balls anymore. They're going to take it out. Everything is working against this guy. Everything. So I hope I'm wrong, but everything is working against this guy.
Average. That's where guys who can hit for average, guys who hit 280, 290, and of course over 300 are going to excel with a deadened ball. So now the guys that are hitting 250, 260 that you can say they can hit, they hit 25, 30 home runs. Those guys are not going to excel. You have to go with the professional hitter. Arenado and Goldschmidt, they're professional hitters. Those are guys that I think are going to keep excelling in this climate of a deadened ball because they're not relying only on the home run. They can get you doubles and hits, get on base, especially walk. So that's where I feel. That's where I see guys like Rizzo, Baez, and Bryant. You show me where Milwaukee has 3 guys that compare to those 3, and Contreras. Tell me where Milwaukee has Bryant, Baez, Rizzo, and Contreras. Tell me. Where's 4 guys?
But I feel like, Ross, you're doing the one thing that we kind of spoke about in the first show. I feel like you're looking at the names. Colton Wong is a beyond solid player, and I think that was a great pickup by the Brewers. Jackie Bradley Jr., another phenomenal pick by the Brewers. Like I said,
Jackie Bradley's been a stud his entire career.
He hasn't been a stud. He's more of a defensive player. He's a defensive player.
4th-tier player. How was it a great pickup for fantasy?
Right, but what I'm saying is this. Okay, so let's go into this. Hold on. So we could agree that Yelich is there.
That's why I said anybody but Yelich. There's no one really there.
Lorenzo Cain, they're projecting him roughly about 280. Okay, that's again, he's hitting higher than both of your studs. Okay,
who?
He's going to have a projected right now. He's going to have a higher average than both Goldschmidt and Arenado. So whatever. We'll move on.
Lorenzo Cain is a 20 homer guy if he can get there. That's it.
But my thing is
you're talking about guys who are going to hit a guy who's going to hit 280 and has hit 30 home runs. Rizzo has done it. Baez has done it. Bryant has done it.
He's fallen off big time. Hiura,
they only fell off last year. Those three guys have not fallen off big time. They only fell off last year. If you look at their numbers from 2019, 2018, and in the past, they haven't fallen off.
Ross, how about this? We're going to make a friendly wager on the air. Okay, we're going to make a friend. No, nothing. Loser has to buy the winner something, lunch, dinner, something. I will take Colton Wong, Christian Yelich, and Hiura over
Bijan,
Goldschmidt, and Arenado in the following and this is
what category?
Average home runs,
combined average home runs and RBIs.
That's it. Thank you. That's it. Whoever wins 2 of 3 categories. I will take my 3 versus your 3. So let's move on. We're going to get into the next team. We spent far too much time on the Milwaukee Brewers. Let's get into the Chicago Cubs. The dumpster fire that is called the Chicago Cubs. This team, Vegas right now has them projected to be in the 70s in wins. There is a lot of question marks around this team. There's a lot of question marks of if there's going to be a fire sale. I mean, if you really look at it, they let their whole pitching staff go, with the exception of Hendricks. Trade out Darvish. They let Lester walk. Obviously, Lester's not exactly a huge loss, like you mentioned when we discussed the NL East. But pitching, huge problem. They bring back Craig Kimbrell as a closer. You want to talk about someone to stay away from? Stay away from Craig Kimbrell. Stay far away from Craig Kimbrell. If I have to say of a bright spot of this team, honestly, Ross, is that Ian Happ is going to finally get a full-time crack at things. He was kind of like the utility player between him and Bote that they just played wherever. I think Ian Happ is going to be. I think out of everyone, I think he's set for the biggest season. That's my breakout player for the Cubs is Ian Happ.
I think their hitting is. I think their hitting is really good. They have a great hitting team. The only thing with Chicago is their pitching is horrible. Besides Hendricks, they have no one. Trevor Williams is supposed to be one of their best pitchers. I would stay away from him. Zach Davies, I mean, he's solid, but Mills, Alzolay, I mean,
nobody. There's nobody. It's a dumpster fire.
That's why you can't pick Chicago to win the division, but I don't see them as a team that can't compete only because of their hitting. And I don't like Milwaukee and Cincinnati's pitching. So for me, that's why I pick St. Louis to rank first in the division, because they have a mix of solid hitting and really good pitching.
I get it. Understood. So who's one guy that you're kind of targeting if you were looking at the Cubs? Who's the one guy you're? I
tell you, there's more than one guy. Listen,
I just want one guy. That's all I'm asking for. Give me one guy.
I'm my 2 guys that listen. Rizzo, Baez, and Bryant. They all hit. Rizzo hit 220. Baez hit 203. Bryant hit 206. Bryant 4 home runs. Baez 8. Rizzo 11 home runs. They were all horrible. People are going to stay away from them. People are going to say they're falling off. But if you look at their 2019 numbers, 2018 numbers, they are legitimate 25, 30 home run guys who could hit 280. So I'm targeting all 3 of them later on. It's not just one guy. I'm targeting all 3 of them.
All right, fair enough. Let's go to Cincinnati. Another team. People don't know what's going to happen here. It's kind of a crapshoot, basically. If they stay together, I feel like they have a super solid lineup. I actually do like their pitching staff for the most part. I think it's their bullpen that needs the help. I think their starters are decent. Led by Castillo and Sonny Gray. Listen, New York fans have
them too.
No, I mean you also have. Hold on,
Miley and Neal.
Yeah, you have a couple younger kids. You do. You have a couple of younger kids that you still don't know what you're gonna
do.
You don't know what you're gonna do, but I mean, listen. At the end of the day, I think they'll be competitive. For me, I think the guy that I'm looking at to take another step. He was a very touted. I think this is going to be. I think this is finally the season that you're going to get the breakout season from Nick Senzel. Cincinnati Reds fans have been dying to see this kid kind of, bust out the way that they expected him to, and he just kind of has never done it. He's kind of been middle of the road, nothing crazy. I really think that this is going to be the year that he kind of, he breaks out of that slump. 2019, 256, 12 home runs. Last year obviously was abysmal, but again, shortened season. He only played 23 games. He batted 186. I see a 270, 20 home run kind of a year from him, which is pretty solid for him. I think he's gonna push 30 stolen bases this year. I think Cincinnati's gonna, I think that's gonna be where his value is gonna come from. It's gonna be the stolen bases. But
I'm not a big fan of Senzel. My guy that I'm targeting from Cincinnati that I like is a guy who hit 202 last year, Suarez. This guy can hit 35 home runs and hit 270. He's done it more than one time.
Absolutely, but you got to make sure his hair is blonde. I learned that on Monday night on the Smarsh and Scroll show. If his hair's not blonde, all bets are off.
The guy I don't like that I'm staying away from, which is the name, is Votto. He's regressed for the past 3 years. I just don't think he has it anymore.
No, yeah, the guy I'm hitter. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the guy I'm actually staying away from in this lineup is Amir Garrett. Garrett is another guy. I'm staying away from the closers. The NL Central does not have good closers. Stay away from them. Stay far away. Do we have to really go over Pittsburgh?
Oh, Pittsburgh is.
Well, I mean, Pittsburgh is like it's like the Baltimore Orioles of the NL.
The only guy I like on Pittsburgh, who's supposed to be, he was a big prospect, is Mitch Keller.
Yeah,
I mean, I like Mitch Keller. I think that he's one of my guys that I have as a late sleeper, where a guy you can take a chance on later on, who has strikeout potential. If the ERA goes down, I'm not seeing wins, but if your ERA, this is for roto leagues. If your ERA and WHIP goes down, which I think it will, and he gets a lot of strikeouts, he's the kind of guy that can pile up numbers for you in a roto league. Other than that, I don't see one player that I'm targeting early. These are all guys that are just roster fillers later on if they're still there.
Yeah, if for me, the one guy, if you want to target someone on there, like we mentioned earlier, would be Brian Hayes, the stud third baseman prospect out of there. Supposedly the kid he's 5 tools and supposedly going to be a great. I haven't seen much of him. Obviously I don't get to watch many Pittsburgh games. I mean, that pretty much wraps up that division. I mean, there's not exactly again, that division, it's top heavy. Vegas right now has the Brewers. I mean, I'll give you up to date. Hold on. MLB wins projections. Dakota, okay, which is MLB's, the be all end all. NL Central right now has the Brewers at 89 and 73. So 55% odds to win the division. They actually have the Cubs at 85 and 77. They have the Cardinals at 81 and 81. 500 team. The Reds at 79 and 83, and the Pittsburgh Pirates at 61 and 101. Pacoda, and this is the notes on it. Pacoda doesn't think Nolan Aronado will be enough for the Cardinals, even after the St. Louis blockbuster deal for one of the sport's best two-way superstars. The projections see the Cardinals as a 500 team that won't get them to the playoffs. Thoughts?
Okay, that's their projections on one player not doing well. That's just silly. So
no, I mean that Pacoda is like MLB's projection thing. That's where they have everything. I mean, this is where
he's got to do his job. He's got to make his projections. But if you look at his numbers every single year, he comes close on some. He's right on some, and he's wrong on a lot of them. That's the way it's gonna be. So no one expects him to be right on every single one of his projections. Do you expect him to be right on every one of his projections?
No, never.
It's a basis. It's a basis. But if you look at it, 81 games to 89 games is 8 games. That's in a long season. That's easily overcome and easily swayed back and forth. So if he's wrong on 5 games on Milwaukee and he's wrong on 5 games on St. Louis, who's winning the division? You understand what I'm saying?
I get it. I mean, even if he's wrong 5-5, Brewers still in the division.
5-5 is 86 and 80. If the St. Louis would have 86 wins and the Brewers would have 84. So St. Louis would win the division. Just a 5-game difference. I'm just saying that pitching wins games. We all know that. You need hitting, but pitching wins games. And I just see St. Louis pitching. They always have a great pitching staff because their farm system is one of the best in baseball. You have to agree with that.
Yeah, no, listen, St. Louis is one of those teams. Listen, you're not competitive every year by mistake. They're a very well-run organization. They're a very good organization. One of our co-hosts, when the news of Arenado came out, he was like, you know what, it's not surprise. He goes, that's a Cardinals type of move. He goes, they always do something. They always make a splash. Yadier Molina, I don't know, for the people that didn't see the video the other day, he was the guy was like kind of taunting him at first base, and he threw back, and Molina was like, yeah, go to second. Yeah, go. Next pitch, the guy took off for second, and he was dead to rights. And Molina's just like kind of looking at him like, oh, I may be 40, but I'll still hose you. But it's crazy stuff. But all right, we are going to we're going to wrap it up, Ross. We are moving on to the cheater division of the AL West. Can't wait to torch them. We're saving the best for last, if you haven't noticed. I promise you, ladies and gentlemen, for everyone watching, okay, I promise you, next Wednesday, you do not want to miss, because we go over starting pitchers, and the NL West. Oh, what a joyous occasion that's going to be for me. But Monday, we are going to the AL West, okay? Going AL West, and we are going with outfielders. I already know that Race Marsh will be watching because he can eagerly anticipate me telling you that Juan Soto will be the best outfielder in fantasy baseball this year. On that note, for myself, my good friend Ross, everyone have a wonderful weekend. Do not forget to catch Friday night, the Smarsh and Scrow Show at 7 o'clock. Saturday morning, Brian and Billy with the bottom line. Sunday, 4 o'clock Eastern, 3 p.m. Central. We're moving time zones, Ross. Jade Lowe is back. We're wrestling with my thoughts. We will be back Monday, 6 o'clock, followed by the Smarsh and Scrow Show. Some big announcements coming. By the end of the weekend, we should have our apparel up and running. You'll be able to get hoodies, t-shirts, hats, masks, you name it, we got it. But yeah, for myself, Ross, everyone have a wonderful weekend. Enjoy the beautiful weather. The fantasy scene is out. Have a good night, guys.
Joe, have a good night. Everyone, have a good night.